So tell us, you had a teacher in Belgium who kind of pushed you towards like auditioning and getting gigs and acting and being an entertainer. So now that you're all like grown up, what did she see in you when you were younger that made you what you are today? Yeah.
So it was actually I was living in London. I lived in Belgium first, and then I moved to London. And London is where I started taking an acting class in school, and then from that I started taking outside of school with this acting teacher. Her name was Sasha Leslie, and she, it's interesting because I guess that's kind of how she did it. I don't know if that. I don't think that's how people do it now, but she had this class and she'd bring people in, and then when she felt they were ready, she'd tell them, oh, I'm an agent too, would you like to go out on audition? And so I got to that point with her. I don't know exactly what she saw in me. I think she saw a passion and excitement. I remember at that time just really loving having something different, and like I was just so intrigued by this whole different world that I had never really seen before, and I was learning all about it and how films are made and all this stuff, and I just thought it was so fascinating. And so yeah, I was lucky she started sending me out on auditions, and that's around when I was you know 12,
Mhm.
13 is when I really like kind of got introduced to that world. And then I moved back to the US and was living in New York, and was taking classes there as well, and then I just kind of decided that I wanted to stick with it.
So, being in New York and trying to achieve like an acting career, of course, on the East Coast of the States, it could be pretty intimidating. So, what did you do to like sustain your confidence and not let anything bring you down, so to speak? And what did you do to sustain yourself?
That's a good question. It's tricky because obviously in this business, you have to have a pretty strong sense of self, or just kind of like, yeah, a different level of confidence where nothing anybody says is gonna stray you away from it or bring you down. Um, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I've always had this kind of um this kind of this kind of sense where things just kind of like fall off my back. Obviously, there's been situations where it's been harder than other times, but for the most part, I'm able to kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of always how I see the world is everything is such an opinion. Nobody's right or wrong, nobody's good or bad. We're all just here, and we all have reasons behind everything that we do. I've always I see that in my relationships too. I try not to take anything too personally, because I think nobody means bad. Everybody's just kind of fending for themselves in this world. So I think
Yeah.
everybody has like a good heart. Nothing's intentional. So I kind of have always tried to take that into my career life as well. Nothing's personal, everything's just an opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us about the first role you landed and how did that come about? Or that first role that you actually said, okay, I'm actually here now. So yeah, tell us the story behind that.
So I did, little jobs, commercial and whatnot stuff kind of through my teens and then high school and college. But it wasn't until after college where I really kind of like said, okay, this is my focus now. I'm putting it in. And I remember I booked this part on a Discovery Channel show called Blood Relatives. And it's one of those kind of crime reenactment things. And
Hmm.
it was, I was like the main part in the episode. And it was like a situation where I would go back every day for a week. And that was kind of my first time going back over and over again to the same
Nice.
set and working on something for more than just a day or two.
Hmm.
And that was a really fun experience. Like that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm here. We're doing this. And it was fun. I had like the fake blood and it was really fun.
That's amazing. So I mean, I was recently there at South by Southwest, and I heard that Air was going to be like a surprise screening at the film festival. So how did that all come about? And did you already know that this was going to happen? And like, did you land in Austin? Like, or like, was this all premeditated? And yeah,
I mean,
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
yeah, it was premeditated for them. I wasn't on the in with it all. I found out when everyone else did, and decided, last minute that I wanted to be there. So, I booked a ticket a few days before and went, and it was so fun to be a part of that first big audience watching it. The energy was so good. South by Southwest is just such a great festival. And
Absolutely.
I had never been before, and I got to see a couple other films. I had some friends there, and I got to see a couple other films while I was there. And it was just such a fun experience to see movies with such movie lovers and people who are like, because
Yeah.
they get riled up during the movie, they're cheering, it's
Yeah.
so much fun to see it with a crowd like that.
Tell us what it was like to work with a star-studded cast. And of course, Matt Damon's in it and Ben Affleck. But of course, someone like Viola Davis, who has like done so much for, women in the entertainment industry. What was it like just, being there with her?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of pressure. You have to be so like disciplined and focused to not let any of that like chatter in your head get to you. It's definitely harder because you have a less amount of time to like, be present and focused during your moment. You won't get a couple takes here, you're not
Yeah.
you're not having that time to really like settle in. um
Mhm.
so it was challenging, but I was really happy with how how it went and how I did settle in quickly. And I actually wasn't there with Viola. Her stuff doesn't take place as much in the Nike office, which is where all my stuff was filmed. But just being with Ben and Jason, and who my main scene is with, and Matt. Yeah, it's high pressure, but also those guys have a way of easing their relaxation onto you,
Yeah, absolutely.
so it's nerve-wracking, but then there's also a level of you getting there, and it's just such a professional like setting where they're all just calm and easing into it. So it's easy once you're there on set to just kind of, you know, um, emulate that, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, so tell us your role in the film.
So I play Tiffany. She's a secretary in the Nike office. Um, they they call it Sunny Vaccaro secretary. You'll see, I don't know if you've gotten to watch the film yet, but you'll see the joke of that. I don't want to give anything away, but but yeah, I got to play a secretary in the Nike office. So it was really fun, getting to go back to the 80s with the hair and makeup and wardrobe and all that.
Well, what sort of advice would you give to the up and comers or upcoming actors and actresses, of course?
I think the biggest thing the advice that I've taken that's kind of helped me the most over the last few years is this career path can be so frustrating, and just like, because it's just you're constantly in this state of wanting
Mhm.
and like trying to get to where you're going. I think the best advice I ever received is to build a life around your acting career that works alongside of it,
Yeah.
fulfilling, and that can bring happiness in other ways, so you're not just waiting for happiness. I think there's always this feeling of like, oh, when I book this role or when I become successful, then I'll be happy, or then I can, do this. But like, our life is right now. So building a life right now that feels full and fulfilling to you, so that it's not just this constant state of like frustration. I think I lived in that state for a couple of years after college of like, it's just so frustrating of you wanting to be doing things that you're not being given permission to do yet, but like
Yeah.
create those things that you don't need permission for, whether it's writing or, filming stuff on your own, or a different kind of passion that works alongside of it that I've kind of found building and kind of a lot of DIY work that's kind of bringing me that same fulfillment and creativity on another level. So yeah.
So tell us where we can see you next, and what are you working on now?
Yeah. So alongside that, I'm working on a pilot. I'm writing a pilot. It's called Mac of All Trades. It's about a female handy woman and Finnish carpenter as she navigates life and society's expectations of her in a male dominated field.
Mhm.
So it's kind of it's a comedy-ish. It's kind of like along the lines of Netflix's Love. Yeah, I'm kind of combining my two passions, my passion for building, and it's kind of comes from my personal experiences of doing a lot of handy woman work and building furniture for people during a time when I was doing that.